Hello everybody, Nathaniel from RC Insight here, and in today's video I am super excited to be reviewing the latest Intrism project, the Intrism Icon, which just was revealed on Friday, August the 16th, and will start shipping on August 23rd. This Intrism retails for $45 in the United States and I believe around $60 in Canada. And I had it sent to me early by Intrism several months ago. So I've had quite the chance to play around with it and get my hands on it. And I'm excited that now it is revealed, I can finally review it for you guys. So let's not waste any more time with this intro and jump straight into the review. All right, and here is the Intrism Icon. Now, as you can see, it is definitely a bit of a departure from the previous Intrism products. As I mentioned before, I got this sent to me early directly from Intrism as a part of a beta program to give some feedback on it because this is a new direction for Intrism. So getting it a few months early, that does mean I didn't get the packaging that you would get when you order this. I also didn't have instructions come with this version. There was a PDF copy of the instructions that I viewed that were still a bit of a work in progress. And so there were some mistakes in the instructions and some challenges there that I suspect have been ironed out since that beta process. So I figure you would not have those problems now, but I just wanted to make mention of that. My understanding is that there have been no changes to the maze itself. I did check with Kyle Vanderveer just to make sure. But there is one subtle change, and that has to do with the Intrism logo and the icon logo that you can see inside here are now printed on the outside of the maze. I believe that is the only real difference between this version and between the current version and the beta version that I have. And you'll notice mine also has this cool little icon beta logo. So some very subtle differences, but the maze and product itself are the same to my knowledge. So let's just get into this. As with any Intrism, I like to start by talking about the build experience. This has 84 pieces and it definitely feels very Intrism in terms of that build design and style. And in terms of build quality and overall build experience, I feel like they just keep getting better and better. The build experience for this has been my favorite of all the Intrisms so far. This was a really great build experience. I said that I thought the Intrism level 1 was the best Intrism build experience. This was above that in my opinion, just because of the unique shape and style, which obviously is the first thing that jumps out at you. This is more of a 2D marble maze, as you can see, rather than a 3D marble maze, and it's in that hexagonal shape, and I really like the way this looks, and the fact that this is a hexagon and more of a 2D maze. You'll notice how you have the acrylic sheets or panels on two sides, and then around the outside you have this wooden band, which is again very different from existing Intrism products. It made for a very unique and different build experience. The maze gets put together in a different way. You get different pieces going together at different angles, all that sort of stuff. There's just a lot of elements here that come together in ways that they would not come together on one of the big 3D cube puzzles. And so I really like that. Not only was this building experience really refined, but it was also just different and unique, and it felt very original compared to the other building experiences. I also really, really like that this just has the two acrylic panels. One of the most frustrating aspects of the regular Intrisms for me is the fact that you've got the 6 sides and the panels are just a little bit finicky. I also don't like having to peel the wrapping off of 6 panels because it's tedious and takes a long time. It's much less tedious to peel it off of 2, and then much more satisfying too, the way this outside part of the maze kind of comes together with these wooden sheets here. They've got those nice bends in them, those cuts so that they can bend like so, and then you just use these long pieces to clamp them together. So you'll notice like this is one section here. You can see that line from here to here, and then another section from here to here, and then a final section from here to here. So it's divided up into thirds, and they're just held together by these pieces. So really, really well done. I really like the way this has been designed and engineered, and just the overall look of this is really cool. One other thing I want to mention about this design and the look before we get into talking about the maze itself is the fact that it has this little hook on the acrylic sheet. So you can hang this on the wall as an art piece if you want. It's the first Intrism product that gives you that option. My philosophy with these sorts of things is kind of always like, if it has that option, that's awesome. Like, it's always better to have the option than it is not, even if you're not going to use it. So I do really like that addition here. So enough on the build experience now, let's get into the maze itself. And you'll notice I've actually been very deliberate about calling this a maze. I try to avoid calling the Perplexuses and even the other Intrism mazes because they're not. They're puzzles, they're dexterity challenges, but they are not mazes. This is much more like a maze in the traditional sense. There is no falling off. It is not an obstacle course. There are some dead ends, though not a lot, but there's also lots of places where you can easily find yourself looping around or going in circles, kind of getting stuck in the same spot. So it is absolutely much more like a marble maze than a marble dexterity challenge. Another interesting thing about this is, if you didn't notice earlier, there's a little hole here. So you actually get to insert the marble to start. The marble is not permanently in the maze here, which I actually really, really like. Oh, and I've lost it already. There we go. I really like the fact that you get the ability to put the marble in and take it out. There's something about that that just feels really cool and fun, and it gives you like a really definitive, okay, I'm putting the marble in now, I'm starting the maze, and that's just a really cool feel. The other thing that's nice about that is that it comes with a few different marble options. Now, I'm using the silver one right now, which is just that classic marble color, but there are also there's a black marble, a white marble, and a red marble that come with this. I've managed to lose the red marble, which is sad because red is my favorite color and it was the one I liked, and I lost it over the last 3 months. So I guess you could say that is one potential downside of the marble being able to exit the maze and having to put the marble in the maze. You can lose the marble, but you get 4, so shouldn't be too big of a problem. And these are, like the rest of the Intrisms, just plastic marbles rather than the steel ball bearings. So for the maze itself, as I mentioned, it's kind of a 2-dimensional challenge. You want to work your way from this exterior starting point into the middle here. The center is the finish line, and you can see the arrow there pointing your way in. And so you can solve it from the outside in, and then also reverse solve it from the inside out. You can either do that yourself or, hand it off to someone else to solve it in reverse, which is some nice functionality. Now, as I said, this is more of a 2D maze, so you solve it on 2 levels. You can solve it on this top side as you work your way through the maze here. Whoop. You solve it on this top side where you first enter, and then it can also fall through onto the bottom side here. And it basically, in order to actually beat this Intrism icon, you're going to be flipping back and forth between both sides of this maze very, very frequently, as you can kind of see here. It's hard to demonstrate. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to pull off the walkthrough here. So yeah, it's different in that sense where you are working top and bottom, constantly flipping from side to side. And I do find it's very easy to get lost in that way. If I did have to compare it to one Perplexus, the Perplexus it's most similar to is the Twisted, in that it's got a maze on both sides. But to my knowledge, the Twisted doesn't have that sort of interplay back and forth between both sides. You just get through one side and then you flip it around through the other side. And we can debate if those are even real Perplexuses. Anyway, this is most definitely a real Intrism. It's just a different style for the series. And I'm really excited to see Intrism experimenting with some different directions. Now, as for the maze itself and how it plays, I don't think it's all that challenging. You can solve it relatively quickly, I think, but it is kind of annoying and frustrating, the constant flipping up and down. It's just so easy, like you fall through one side and then by the time you flip it over, it's already moved around on the other side just in the process of flipping it over, and you kind of lost where you are, or you've fallen back down to the other side again, and you just kind of end up in this circle of flipping back and forth where it can be hard to tell where you're going. So I almost find like I have to consistently like look at it from the bottom side like this. So like I would hold it over my head out of frame, and then when I would flip it, I would like, again, still hold it over my head. That's kind of been the most effective way that I have found to more or less keep track of where you're going. And even still, you can get lost very easily. Unlike the level 1, which kind of has some similar design philosophy in terms of you can't fall off and it's more of a maze rather than an obstacle course or a puzzle challenge. The level 1 is more of a maze as well, where you can't fall off. But the level 1, you cannot really visually follow the path with your eyes and figure out where you need to go because of that three-dimensionality to it. Whereas this one, you can, it's tough still to just kind of figure out the pathway, flipping it back and forth and charting the pathway with your eyes. But you can, to some degree, chart that pathway out to at least kind of help yourself figure out in what direction you need to go. Because like I said, it can get very frustrating if you're just kind of looping in circles. I think you do need to have a little bit of that foresight and planning if you want to solve this a little bit easier. There is one last feature that this maze has that's worth mentioning, and that's this little piece right here, which is an optional piece that you can add in the build process, which blocks off a potential solution path. So I believe if you choose not to insert that piece, there are 2 or even more potential solutions or paths to the middle. By inserting that piece, you block it off, and I believe there's only one solution that I'm aware of. And so it does make it a little bit more challenging. But I don't think it makes it substantially. I actually know it probably does. I played it running into that and just turning around and going the other way and figuring it out. It's not too much longer to figure it out the other way. It's not like a huge upgraded challenge. But yeah, it is definitely not as easy to solve it because I had found what would have been the solution without it before I found the actual solution. So that's something that's worth pointing out. That's kind of the way the maze works, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's definitely not my favorite. This type of marble maze is not quite as much for me. I find the looping around in circles a little bit frustrating, and I definitely like sort of the challenge of trying to stay on the course and not falling off. So then, what are my overall thoughts on this Intrism? Well, I would say I do still like it. It's definitely a unique spin on the Intrism idea, and I like that they're trying something different and trying something new. For those of you who really like marble mazes, this will appeal to you. Like I said, if you get frustrated by the falling off and the just trying to like muscle memory, memorize different obstacles in the Perplexus and the Intrism, you don't have to worry about any of that there. This is a puzzle and a maze that can be solved, and the challenge is not so much in the dexterity of maneuvering the marble through the maze, though that's still a huge aspect of it. The challenge is in actually finding the correct route. So I think there is a specific type of person that this will really appeal to, and those who maybe like the idea of Perplexus but don't love the execution will probably like this a lot more. For someone like me who loves the Perplexus execution, this is not quite as engaging or as exciting of a challenge to me, so it's maybe not my cup of tea personally, and that was the same thing I found with the level 1. I like it, but not the puzzle itself is not necessarily my kind of puzzle. That said, in terms of building experience, this is awesome, the best one yet. I had a blast building this. It's also a great display piece in terms of like style and looks. I think this is the best Intrism in that department as well. Just a very unique design and look about it that really works well. Having the option of hanging it on the wall, also great. And in terms of price point, I'd say it's pretty on par with the Intrism scaling pricing at $45 US, is $60 in Canada. At the end of the day, the question is, do you feel the value is there? And relative to the other Intrisms, if we're using that as our scale, then yes, I do think the value is there. You're probably not going to get quite as much playtime out of this as the mini or maybe even the level 1, to be honest. So in that sense, the playtime value is maybe not there to the same degree, but certainly the size and the build value and all of that still remains very good. So I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, this is a very solid Intrism. It's something new. It's something unique. I really like some of what they're trying here. I like the different shapes. I kind of like the having just the two sides to it. I think there is room to make that work really well. There's just too much interplay between the two sides here, and I can maybe do a more in-depth video talking about some criticisms and ways that I would improve this in the future, because I think there are some incredible ideas here, and for me personally, the execution just is not 100%. But I do want to see Intrism continue to explore this route with different shapes and styles of mazes. I think it's really exciting and a way to help further differentiate it from Perplexus and solidify sort of the unique niche of Intrism as wood-built marble mazes, which is just an awesome niche to have. So yeah, lots of things I like about it, but ultimately not my favorite Intrism at the end of the day. I like the experimentation, the new direction, but it doesn't quite hit the spot for me. It would not be my first choice or entry into the Intrism series. But like I said, I think there's lots of you who will like it, so I would still encourage you, if this piques your interest, to check it out, because there is lots of good stuff here as well. I'm going to leave the review off here, though. It's already quite a long review. If you guys like this video, leave a like down below. It's a great way for you to show your support. Also, comment, let me know what you think about this Intrism maze, the idea, the concept, the new spin on it. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them. And if you have this already, which you won't at the time of recording, but you could in the future, let me know what you think about it. There will be a walkthrough coming at some point in the future. Like I said, I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to do that because it's a little bit weird, but rest assured, there will be one. So stay tuned for that, and a whole slew of other Intrism and Perplexus content. My channel is the place to be on YouTube if you want anything marble maze related. So subscribe so you don't miss those future videos when they come out, both for the Intrism and other Perplexus stuff. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe so you see those videos when they come out. And yeah, with all that said, I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.